seen so far, to, the administrative prowess of Senator John Owaneno?
Yes, of course, because this is not what he used to be before he came on board. So there's a change of narrative, and for me, he must, as a matter of must, attribute that level of improvement or achievement that we've seen in the area of sport, to Senator John Owaneno, because before he came on board, we've always had the issue of paucity of funds for different sporting federation to go out there and prosecute their games and all of that. It has become a difficult thing for most of the federation out there to stand up on their feet financially and say, yes, we want to attend such and so tournament without any setback when you talk about money issue and all of that. We've seen the lingering rancor in the basketball angle before he came on board, but I think since he came on board, I think such rancor is gradually fading away. There seems to be this understanding among the federation right now, and that is why we've seen the male team of our basketball talking about the Tigers doing so well. For the female team, it was quite unfortunate that we couldn't clinch the Olympic ticket, but then that is not down to Senator John Owaneno. It's just down to the fact that our team wasn't good enough to clinch one of the tickets. So the success of the Super Eagles is just talked about in the African Cup of Nations. The All-African game here in Ghana, how he was very, very instrumental in making sure that preparation started in earnest, so that some of this, our team, our contingent would do us well out there in the All-African game. All this thing is attributed to the, timely intervention and the visionary leadership of the Senator John Owaneno. So for me, I think the man has done a lot, and we must give him his flowers, because I think he has come to, like I said earlier, to change the narrative in the running of sports in the country. I tell you, if he continue in this fine footing, he will definitely finish very well, and Nigeria, will come back to that reckoning, to become that force we used to know in the time past when you talk about sport generally here in Africa.
One, of course, for the minister, you would say. But away from that, Nigerian high jumpers, Temi Tokbe Adeshina and Justin Jimo were the star of attraction at the 2024 Texas release at Mike A. Mayer Stadium in Austin, Texas, USA, as both athletes made winners in their respective events. Adeshina, who is 35 years, made a grand entry into the American collegiate circuit when she cleared 1.96 meters indoors to set a Nigerian record in the high jump event. Soared to a height of 1.87 meters. The 35-year-old will be seeking to become the first Nigerian woman high jumper to clear above the 2 meters mark in her next event, as the season, of course, begins to gather momentum. Also, Jimo won the men's high jump final for the second time in a row. This time, it was the B section at the event. And in the track and field, Ezekiel Nathaniel made a great start to the season, finishing second in the men's 400 meters hurdle at the Battle on Bayonne in Boston Roger, clocking a time of 49.57 seconds. The race was won by Chris Robinson, who ran 49.13 seconds in that particular one. Michael, of course, jumpers, of course, putting up some impressive feats down there in Texas.
An impressive one there. I think for me, it's a morale booster for our athletes out there, because the Olympic is just by the corner, and seeing them doing pretty well so far since the start of this 2024 season, I think is very, very massive for the country in Nigeria, and for them as an individual. So they are trying to better their last years out there, and it's something that is quite commendable. Going out there to put their name on the map, I think was an impressive feat, as she also seeks to become the first Nigerian player as well to beat that 2-meter mark. I think it's a record. I was actually listening to her even before she taking part in that very one. She also talked about her willingness and her eager to also make it count out there in the Olympics. She was saying that she's going to give everything within her to ensure that at least she continue in that fine form. And I think for me it has been impressive one for most of the Nigerian athletes over the weekend, doing massive things out there in different category of athleticism out there in United States of America. I think it's a big hope for us. It's a big morale booster for Team Nigeria as we prepare for the Olympic, because it's always very, very happy and very interesting to note that most of your athletes, they are on their A games, while waiting for a major tournament such as the Olympic. I think it's a plus to them and a plus to the country as well. Let's hope that they will continue in this fine form going forward.
Let's hope, of course, the athletes continue in this impressive ride. And away from that, let's talk basketball on the show this morning, as River Supers have touched down in Lagos for the 3rd edition of the Louis Edem Invitational Basketball Championship. The defending champions have been drawn in formidable group alongside Ebom Comets, Hopes and Raids, Kwara Falcons, and Braves of Ghana. The Kingsmen secured victory in the last edition with a commanding 74-56 win over the Spintex Knights of Ghana. They now have their sights set on securing back-to-back titles. Michael, River Supers, of course, once again in the Louis Edem competition, looking forward to get themselves fit and better ahead of the Basketball African League.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a nice one. They are on the rise again, but then they will be meeting up, some acid tests from the likes of Hopes and Raid, and also, Kwara Falcons out there. I think these are some of the big teams that they will be facing. They also have other foreign teams as well, because other African countries as well, their team will be taking part in this one, like Ghana. They also have a strong team out there representing them. So I think for me it is also another springboard for dress rehearsal for the Basketball African League that the Kingsmen will be taking part in. I think for me it is going to be a nice one, because this will also keep the players on their toes. It help them as well to start preparation for the Basketball African League that is just by the corner. So it's a nice one to ensure that these players keep themselves competitive. So I think it's a big one, and this is the title or the tournament they also won last time. They'll also be willing as well, to also defend this very one. But then they have other obstacles out there to cross first before they can get this one. But in all, I think it's just a good one, because looking at the timing of the Basketball African League and the timing of this competition, I think it will help the players to put themselves in check as well, and to be in shape while the Basketball African League will soon commence. So I think it's a very good one. It serves as a preparatory ground for the Rivers Hoopers, talking about the Kingsmen for the the Basketball African League.
Can Rivers Hoopers, of course, do it back-to-back in the Louis Edem Invitational tournament? We'll keep our fingers crossed and see how, of course, it will go down this time around. Of course, you heard Michael mentioning the fact that they'll be facing the likes of Hoops and Raid, Kwara Falcons, Braves of Ghana, and the rest of them. Can they get past these teams? Let's see how it goes. But let's quickly bring you some results, from the NBA, as we saw some impressive results early as of today. And Timberwolves, Minnesota Timberwolves, of course, they lost to Chicago Bulls 109-101 in that particular encounter. And Dallas Mavericks, of course, they beat Houston Rockets 135-107. And of course, we saw another exciting encounter between New York Knicks and the Thunders. It ended 113-112, of course, for the Thunders and Thunder, of course, striking 113 times in that particular encounter. And for the Kings, they actually beat Utah Jazz 127 to 106. And for a very interesting encounter, Golden State Warriors, they beat, the Spurs 117 to it ended 117 in that particular encounter, trying to get that particular result in that particular one. But Michael, we saw some interesting results. Yes, Golden State Warriors getting that one 117 to 113 against the Spurs. What do you make of that particular game for the Golden State Warriors?
I think it was a massive victory for the Golden State Warriors. They are also pushing to see if they can also finish in the playoff. I think they've been very impressive of late. Let's see if they can keep fighting till the end. I tell you, they will definitely become one of the first team to make it through the playoff, just like Bolton State as well have already done. So I think it was a massive victory for Golden State Warriors. Most of their two key players came into the game as they were able to also carry the burden of the team.
Steph Curry coming up with 33 points.
Yeah, coming up with 33 points. I think it was very, very massive for them. You saw a combination of Steve Curry out there, and this other is
Damon Green.
Damon Green.
31 points for him.
There was also a great partnership among them. One thing striking was the attacking prowess of what they possess at the front line. At some point I thought maybe they were going to bottle it, but they just came back into the game very, very strong, inspired by Curry out there. I think it was a massive victory for Golden State Warriors. I tell you, if they can continue to push, I tell you, they will become one of the earliest team that will make it to the at least playoff.
Let's see how it goes. And talking about the way the table is shaping up, of course, we take a look at the Eastern Conference. We have the Boston Celtics being number one down there in the Eastern Conference. Milwaukee Bucks are second, and Cleveland Cavaliers, of course, are third, and New York Knicks are fourth. Talking about the Magic, of course, they are fifth, and the Pacers are sixth, Miami Heat are seventh, and of course Philadelphia 76ers are 8, Chicago Bulls are 9, and we have the Atlanta Hawks, of course, maintaining number 10 position down there. But for the Western Conference, we have the Thunder, of course, coming up top in that particular conference as it is, and we have the Denver Nuggets second, Timberwolves are third, the Clippers are fourth, Mavericks are fifth, Pelicans, of course, are sixth, and of course the Kings are seven, Phoenix Suns are eight, LA Lakers, of course, taking up the ninth position, Golden State Warriors rocking the 10th position, as it is. Michael, talking about the LA Lakers, they have been an impressive rise for them. This is not the kind of position we saw the LA Lakers, of course, last two seasons, or even last season.
Yeah, the last two seasons, you say that the LA Lakers have actually struggled out there, but it looks as though this season they want to change, that narrative. Don't forget the way they started the season as well. They didn't start the season in the best form of fashion, but then I think as some of the game continue to come along, they seem to at least get that understanding back. They seem to have gotten their rhythm, gotten their mojo back on track, pushing so hard to better their last season out. And I think for me, has been an impressive ride for them. But then I still expect them to push hard. At least, there are some few games that is still left to play in the regular season before they start talking about the playoff. They should continue to push. And I tell you, if they continue to push hard, they might possibly, make it through the playoff.
All right, let's start away from NBA as we take a look at golf this morning as Ikoyi Clubs. Sunday Olapade has won the second Custodian Golf Classic at the Lakowe Lakes Golf Club in Lagos. This is Olapade's first win on the Professional Golf Development Tour, and he did it in style. He shot 73, 68, 72 at 2 under par to pocket the 3 million naira star prize at the 54-hole affair. Wale Oshin, the group managing director, said the event is an avenue to show support for the abundance of talent in professional golfer in the country. He also underscored that the purse of this year's event was raised by 100% to 20 million naira from 10 million at the first edition of the Custodian Classic in the Ikoyi Club last year. Now, Ghana's Augustine Manessa led the foreign players charge for the title that ended him at 222 after the 54-hole play, which could only fetch him a joint fourth-place finish alongside Otupo base George Otupo, base George Inoa Lego, and Nigeria's former number one Kamalu Bako, who topped the event's leaderboard with a 68, 4 under par on the opening day, struggled to a second-place finish with 4-stroke adrift of Oladipo's winning score. Francis Ope, current PGA Tour leader, placed third with 224, 4 over par finish, suffering the same fate as well. But away from that, let's also take a look at what happened as well in the other climb as well in golf, as Germany's Steven Jagger won his first PGA Tour title at the 135th attempt with a victory at the Houston Open. Jagger previous 6 tournament wins were on the second tier Corn Ferry Tour, but a 3 under 67 saw him top the leaderboard by 1 shot on 12 under. World number 1 Scotty Scheffler, chasing the 3rd straight win, missed a 5-foot put to force a playoff and finish a 5-way tie for second. Jagger, who was part of a 5-way tie for the lead heading into the final round, carded 4 beetles and bogey on the front 9 before making 9 straight pars in that particular one. Alright, let's move on as we take a look at the latest coming from wrestling, as our African Games gold medalist Esther Kolawale has expressed determination to win a medal at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, that are booking a ticket at the qualifiers. Michael, Esther Kolawale, one of the wrestlers, looking forward to get something huge during the Olympics.
Yeah, I think for me, if you take a look at what she did, they just concluded the All-African Game out there in Ghana. I truly also want to agree that she would definitely, at least come back with something tangible at the Olympic, because if you take a look at the wrestling contingent, performance in the just concluded All-African Game in Ghana, I think it will be very convinced that indeed they would definitely go out there at the Paris Olympic Game and come back with some substance, something to cheer home about. And I think for me, she has also reiterated that long-time dream, that long-time vision, and she has been working very, very hard to ensure that this one come to actualization. And all we could just say is to wish her well, and also also pray that the Wrestling Federation continue to move on the rise, just like what we've seen in the recent few months, where Daniel Ikali has been able to also come back and make a very strong statement for himself, making sure that whenever we are going for competition, preparation starting NS and all of that, the support is given to the wrestlers. I think for me, these are things that we must also do to also encourage them and to also help some of these wrestlers to achieve their dream of winning silver medal in the forthcoming Olympic Games. So I think it's a high hope, and is it realizable? Of course, yes, because she's working towards that.
Kolawale overcame Angelina Rodriguez for Cape Verde by 10-0, technical superiority in the women's 62 kg at the 2024 African Oceanic Olympic qualifiers in Alexandria, Egypt. She is joined by 5 other Nigerians who have booked their Olympic tickets for the competition in Paris. Odunoya Adokroye, Blessing Obrodudu, Hannah Ruben, Christiana Ogonsanya, and Ashton Motowa have all qualified for the games. Alright, let's move on as we bring you the latest from the Miami Open. Was really, of course, an impressive weekend we saw in Miami. Now, Italy, Jannik Sinner cruised past Grigor Dimitrov in straight sets to win the Miami Open men's title. Australian Open champion Sina, who previously finished as runner-up in Miami in 2021 and 2023, defeated the Bulgarian 6-3, 6-1. It marks the third title for 2024 for the 22-year-old, following his successes in Melbourne and Rotterdam. Yannick Sinner once again, Michael, coming up with this impressive performance.
Massive one for the Italian. I think he's taking off the shine from the young Carlos Alcaraz, who we thought possibly last year that is going to be the new face of table tennis, where the old war horse is actually packing their bags and baggages, gradually getting ready to leave the scene after they've achieved a whole lot. Talking about the likes of Novak Djokovic, the likes of Andy Murray, and the rest of the big guns out there. Carlos Alcaraz was touted as one of the poster boy of the ATP, but then it looked as though Yannick Sinner, the Italian, is actually taking off that shine of Carlos Alcaraz. Yannick Sinner continued from where he stopped the Australian Open, where he actually lifted that very one, went to the Melbourne as well, did a very big thing out there, lifted it, and then down to Rotterdam, also coasting home that trophy. Now the Miami Open. I think this man Yannick Sinner, we need to watch him very closely, because he's a new face for me right now as he stands, looking at his impressive display so far. I had actually tipped him to come to the final, and also lifted this very one. Looking at his form so far, it was just lost only one game so far this season. So for such a man that has been able to show that consistency, week in, week out, month in, month out, tournament after tournament, there is no way you expect such a man to get to the final against Dimitrov. Yeah, there's no way you expect him to get to the final against Dimitrov, and you expect Dimitrov to get the better of him. I think this man has also prepared for himself. He has actually been watching some of the clips of Dimitrov. That is after his post-match interview. He actually made this very known. He said that Dimitrov is not a player that you underrate. He has to go back and watch some of the clips of Dimitrov, and that helps him a lot to take advantage of that, and also get the better of Dimitrov. So I think this man truly deserves a standing ovation. If not that
he has to do that, because when you take a look at the fact that Dimitrov actually took the likes of Alcaraz on the way, Zverev as well on the way, you really have to go and watch his clips.
Of course, that is what he said in that interview as well. He said what motivated him actually to go searching for the tape of Dimitrov was how Dimitrov was able to tame down some of the favorites, in quote. He called some of those names that was hosted out by Dimitrov the favorite, So he said that gave him the motivation to go back. He said if he can be able to tame down such big names, then there is something special about Dimitrov that he need to study. And of course, he went back to the drawing board and actually take a look at some of his clips there, and also improve on his own personal game as well. So I think for me, it's a big congratulations to the Italian, talking about Yannick Sinner. We hope to see him continue in this fine form, so that possibly when Novak Djokovic is gradually retiring, maybe we'll see the competition between him and Carlos Alcaraz than Medvedev, only if Carlos Alcaraz can live up to that high. Because many times when you expect Carlos Alcaraz to hit that peak, that is where he just collapsed. But when you don't expect him, he just boom, spring up surprise somewhere. But Yannick Sinner has been very consistent. So I tell you, it's a very massive feat for him, and also racking up 1,000 points. That we also put him on a very vantage position.
Is actually ranked number 2 now.
Number 2 right now.
Exactly, upset Carlos
Alcaraz. That is what I'm saying. So if he continue to take part in a forthcoming competition, as they continue to keep up this consistency, I tell you, he might be gunning for the number 1 spot. Who knows?
Is Yannick Sinner, of course, the future of tennis in the male category? We'll keep our fingers crossed on that. and see how it goes. But for Grigor Dimitrov, Michael, he will rise to world ranking of 9 following his return to the final, in which he beat top seed Alcaraz and German 4th seed Alexander Zverev, and it marks his first time in the top 10 since 2018. What do you make of the feat of Dimitrov as well in this particular Miami Open?
It's a good one for him, having tamed down some of the big names out there. Getting to the final is a very impressive display for him, though he wasn't able to clinch the ultimate prize, which is the final. But then I think he has shown massive improvement, and cost of that improvement, he's seen him at least getting to the world, making it to the top 10, which for me it's a very, very big feat for him. Looking at the last time he made it through to number 10, I think he's far, far away. So making it to the world number 10 right now, seated in the 9th position, it tells you indeed that he has actually improved on his game. And if he can continue to push hard, I tell you, he might possibly stay within that number 10 range for a quite long time.
And of course, in the female category in the Miami Open, we saw an offset as American Daniela Collins beat 4th seed Elena Rybakina in straight sets to win the Miami Open, the first WTA 1000 title of her career. Collins, who plans to retire at the end of 2024 season, beats Kazakhstan Rybakina 7-5, 6-3. It marks her 3rd career title for the 30-year-old and her 4th since 2021. In beating 22 Wimbledon champion Rybakina, world number 53 Collins becomes only the 2nd unseeded women's champion in Miami after Kim Clijsters in 2005. Michael, impressive feat, of course, for American Daniela Collins.
Impressive feat and a very shocking result for me, because right here in the studio on Friday we were talking about this final, and I said it was going to be a roller coaster ride for Elena Rybakina. I said it was going to be a one-way traffic for her, because looking at the quality of her opponent that she will be facing up, I think looking at their recent games, I think Rybakina has been on form ever since then. But then this is the beauty of the game, where you actually underrate one player and evaluate one above the other, but then a shocker comes in. This is what we love to see in the game out there, because many times you discover that most time, if the bookmakers continue to give it to one favorite player because of the consistency of such player, then you make it look like a one-horse race. That interest there won't be there for some of the tennis lovers out there. But when you get to see this upset, it's one of the ingredients that keep tennis fans on their toes, not expecting what the next move might be. So for me, I think it was a very, very big shock. And you may say, yes, this might be a good patting back for Collins, who is planning to retire at the end of 2024. Maybe that is the reason. That was the inspiration that actually drive her to also give her best in the final, to ensure that she actually upstage Rybakina in the final. But then for me, I think it was an impressive display for her. Nobody saw this one coming, not even me. I didn't even see this one coming. But then, like I said, it is some of the ingredient that makes the game very, very interesting.
Of course, the result marks the 2nd successive year Rybakina has lost in the Miami final, having been beaten by Petra Kvitova in 2023, and of course wasn't really, of course, an impressive one. Meanwhile, the victory we see Collins jumped to a world ranking of 22nd, Michael. That's a very huge leap today.
Very, very huge leap. 1,000 points involved, and they're not just about the money. Many times people think that they just fight for the money that is involved, but there is something.
From 23 to 22.
Yeah, that is how massive it is for you to garner such a point in final. While having one eye on the money, you also have another eye on how you are able to stay strong on the table out there for a long time, because these are some of the things that give some of these noted name players the advantage that when if a competition comes on, even if you did not qualify for such competition, definitely you must get a white card entrant, because courtesy of where you are placed, in the rankings, and courtesy of your, recent form, you are also given a wild card to take part in some of these tournaments out there. So for me, I think it's an impressive, leap for her. Sitting at 22 right now from 50 something, I think that is very, very massive.
All right, at this point, we'll take a short break. When we come back from the break, I'll bring the latest, from the CAF Confederation Cup, as well as some of the results, in the top 5 leagues over the weekend. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Come back, Steve Sports Talk on Atlantic Television Network. Of course, it's time for we to bring you the latest from the CAF Confederation Cup fixtures over the weekend. And of course, the one that happened down here in Nigeria was the game between Rivers United and USM Orjas. Rivers
at Algeria, USM Algiers. We know how violent their supporters can be. Most of the antics they always try to use, so as to distract their opponent. And you saw the intimidating crowd that always turn out for their matches out there to support USM Algiers, which is not to be compared with what we saw in New York, yesterday. I think for me, I'm very, very worried at this point in time. Not being able to get a convincing result, I think it is a thing of worry for us, because I don't see Rivers United going away to beat USM Algiers, or possibly getting a draw there, because if they get a draw or even score a goal, maybe one goal or thereabout, it could also help them, because the away goal rules is still very, very much in vogue in the African continent here. For them, can Rivers United go out there and also score a away goal, where they find it very difficult to take their chances here back home? I think for me, it's a very, very big worry. And at this point in time, I just think that the destiny of Rivers United is outside of their own hand. They should just pray hard and work hard to see if they can be able to get something positive in the return leg, which for me, I think is going to be a very, very difficult call. I expected them to get the job done and dusted, beat USM Algiers here at home 4 goals to nothing, 3 goals to nothing. That will keep you in a very poor position going away. You'll be beaming with a whole lot of confidence, but a slim 1-goal margin, I think, is not good enough for a team such as USM Algiers. The USM Algiers, they give a good account of themselves as well. You need to have watched that game. They also, give a good account of themselves. If they fight so hard away, how much more if they are playing at home, with their home supporters out there? It's going to be a very difficult mountain for Rivers United to climb. But then, just like their coach was, also crying about the missed chances, which Rivers United should have converted. I think it's another problem. They had a couple of chances to have scored 3 or even more goals, but then their strikers failed to take the chances, this has been the case so far this season for Rivers United. They find it difficult to take their chances. They find it difficult, to also put the ball behind the back of the net when it matters most. And when you don't take your chances, you are going to be punished for it. And that is why they were not able to win more than 3 or even 4 goals margin. So for me, it's a very difficult situation they find themselves right now.
Difficult situation for Rivers United. Can they survive this one when they get down to Algeria next week, of course, to play USM Algiers? So keep our fingers crossed and head goes for the pride of Rivers. But Michael, let's take a trip to England now. Manchester City, of course, they failed to break down Arsenal as a highly anticipated clash at the top of the Premier League field, to live up to the hype in the goalless draw at Etihad yesterday. Shell for the Spurs preserved City unbeaten home run, stretching back to November 2022, and that's now 8th match winning run in the Premier League. But it is the Gunners who will, of course, be happier with the point, as they prevented Pep Guardiola's men from scoring at the Etihad for the first time in 2 years. Michael, first of all, what do you make of that clash between City and Arsenal?
For me, I think it did not meet up
to the hype.
Yes. Building up to that game, there was a whole lot of hype. Many have actually called it a title decider. Many have actually termed it a different name, a battle of the Titans, and many more, catching stories or many more catching titles that so many persons attributed that match that it was going to be at the Etihad Stadium. But for me, I think it did not meet up to that standard. That hype, wasn't there, as it was a one-sided game. Manchester City literally dominated proceedings right from the last of the whistle down to the 90 minutes. So Arsenal was just sitting back defending. The only time that Arsenal had a better hold of the ball, it was in second half when Mikel Arteta had to bring in the likes of Gabriel Martinelli, Trossard. That is the only time the Arsenal were able to assert themselves into the game. Exception of that, I think it was a Manchester City affair. They dominated every angle of the game, but then they find it difficult to break that defense line of Arsenal and be able to get the goal. So for me, I think it's a win-win situation. You may want to say, hence Arsenal was unable to get all 3 points. And Manchester City as well was satisfied with just a point. But then this is the first time in 53 games at the Etihad where Manchester City have failed to score. In 2 good years, 53 games they were unable to score. Arsenal stopped that scoring run at Etihad. I think that is the only positive that Mikel Arteta will be taking home. And for Arsenal and Manchester City for this season, I think this is the only season since the era of Pep Guardiola in Manchester City where Arsenal, led by Mikel Arteta, will be defeating Manchester City in a league and also getting a draw at the Etihad. So we want to say it is an improvement for Mikel Arteta's side, who also is a prodigy, is like a servant to Pep Guardiola because he was under the tutelage of Pep Guardiola. So I think it was an incredible display, but not one that many football followers all over the world I love to see, because what keep the fans excited is when the ball is being hit at the back of the net. You see the shout, the jubilation, the goal celebration. So we missed all of that yesterday. But then, courtesy of that result, it has also given Liverpool an advantage to go 2 points ahead of Arsenal and 3 points ahead of Manchester City. So the title race is on. Let's hope that Manchester City can continue to push hard, because Pep Guardiola made it very clear at the lowest point of their season this time, where they were actually 6 points adrift of the league leaders. Pep Guardiola came to the media. He made it emphatically clear that Manchester City was going to win the league. So let's see the magic that he's going to do at this point in time.
All right, in other results, we saw Liverpool, of course, they got past Brighton by 2-1. And we told you City played goalless against Arsenal Football Club. And of course, we saw Newcastle United, they beat West Ham by 3-4. And Bournemouth got the better in that encounter against Everton by 2-1. Chelsea played a 2-2 draw against Burnley. Michael, surprising results down there in that particular encounter for Chelsea.
Yeah, surprising result, Kingsley. This draw is more like a lose for Chelsea. Why? Because the Burnley side have been struggling under Vincent Kompany. I think everybody has been getting all 3 points against Burnley, and the worst of it all was that Burnley actually got a red card where Chelsea was leading 1-0. After that red card, people thought it was going to be a goal galore, but immediately Burnley seems to bounce back. They seems to be fired up by that one man down. They actually got the equalizer and they keep pushing. Chelsea also had to score the second goal with the coach of the Burnley side, talking about Vincent Kompany, being shown a red card. That means Burnley played without their coach on the touchline.
And I saw one man down.
One man down. Immediately Chelsea scored the two goal, which made it 2-1. It did not take 2 minutes before a 10-man Burnley had to fire back another equalizer to stab a dagger in the heart of Chelsea fans out there in Stamford Bridge. So it was